Okay, today we're going to do 7-1, which is two-step equations. It's just like we've done in the past with one-step equations, except for now there's two. Okay, so when we do them, you pretty much always want to start with the addition and subtraction and then the multiplication or division, depending on what kind of problem it is. So when we look at number 1, so this is going to take us back to the first semester. Okay, we have 3n minus 6 equals 15. So remember, we want to get n all by itself. We want to isolate that variable. So how we do that is we got to get rid of that negative 6 and we got to get rid of that 3. Okay, well, you want to start with the addition and subtraction first. So we add 6. What we do to one side, remember, we do to the other. We add 6 over here. I'm going to bring my 3n down. This is canceled. Equals, and then 15 plus 6 is 21. Now we have 3n equals 21. So with that, it's 3 times n. So your next step would be to divide by 3. This cancels. N equals 7. There you go. So all of these will only be two-step equations. We'll get to multi-step later. Okay? So the next one, 3 plus 15x equals 48. Again, we want this x to be all by itself. Okay, but we don't want to do the 15 yet, because if you do the 15, then you have to divide everything. So let's subtract our 3, because you remember, you look at what's in front of the 3, and it's positive. So we do the opposite. We subtract 3. What you do to one side, you do to the other. So this cancels. We have 15x equals 45. Now we do it. Now it's 15 times x equals 45. Divide by 15. X equals 3. Right? And yes, I expect to see all of these steps. This is one of those things I'm not going to take if you do not show your steps. You have to show your steps. Okay. Number 3. 5 minus x equals 17. When you first look at this, it might look like it's really only a one-step, because we're trying to isolate this variable. So this is a positive 5, so we're going to subtract 5. And we have negative x equals, what is that, 12? Negative x equals 12. Okay, well, now we still have this negative 1. We don't want negative x. We don't want negative x. We want positive x. Well, remember, there's really a 1 right in front of here. So it's really negative 1 times x. So you're going to divide by negative 1. Divide by negative 1. So x equals negative 12. You will do this enough, and if you already know this, you don't have to do this step. If this is negative, if this is just negative x, it's just going to end up changing the sign over here. It's going to give you the opposite, okay? Because dividing by negative just gives you the opposite number. So this is really, that's not supposed to be a t. What's that supposed to be? This is supposed to be a 4 right here. Whoops. So t divided by 4 minus 10 equals negative 6. Sorry about that. Okay. So now this is t divided by 4. So we want the t by itself. So we want to add 10. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So we have, and yes, you have to write all this out. 10 over 4 equals 4. Okay. Because negative 6 plus 10, remember, you're really going to subtract, and you can use your calculators. So now it's t divided by 4, which is the same as, what you want to do is the reciprocal, so you multiply by 4, because you'd get rid of that of that 4. So t equals 16. Okay, moving on. So negative 9 minus y divided by 7 equals 12. So if you want, this is kind of, my program doesn't let me write a fraction. Okay. Okay, so we want to isolate this y again. So we're going to add 9. Remember, we always want to add and subtract first. So this is going to cancel. We have negative y over 7 equals, and what is that? 3, negative 3. Is that correct? Actually, you're really subtracting, so negative 3. So what you can do is, remember, that negative can go with the 7. I wonder how I did that over here. Yeah. So that negative, remember, can go with the 7, or it can stay with the y, and you can bring it through later. Let's go ahead and multiply it. Just multiply both sides by negative 7. So y equals positive 21. If you didn't want to do that way, if you wanted to keep the negative with the y, you would have just ended up with negative y equals negative 21 and then divided by negative 1. So y would equal 21. Either way is fine. But remember, I'll draw it up here. Remember that negative y, these are all the same. It doesn't matter where the negative goes. Those are all the same. Okay? So moving on to number 6. 13 minus 6f equals 31. We want to isolate our variable. We subtract 13 from both sides. So negative 6x, make sure I'm doing this right, negative 6f, I'm sorry, equals, what is that going to be, 18. Okay, remember you have a positive and a negative, so you have to well, that's just normal, 31 minus 13. Okay. Now we're going to divide by negative 6. F equals negative 3. Okay? There we go. Moving on. I think we have a few more. I think these are the last 3. So here, again, we're isolating the b, so we want to subtract 13. Subtract 13. So b over 3 equals, what is that, negative 2? Okay, because remember, one's positive, one's negative. Okay, so when we come over here for our next step, since it's b divided by 3, we're going to multiply by 3. Okay, or you can think of this as 1/3, and you're multiplying by 3 over 1, however you want to think about it. So b equals negative 6. Make sure I'm doing these all right. Okay. Second to last one. So here again we want to isolate our variable. Remember, it doesn't matter which side it's on, okay, but you want to move away from your variable. You don't want to add the 35 over because you're just going to have to subtract it back. So we subtract 1. So we have negative 36 equals 4h. Remember, oops, that looks like a b, but it's an h. Remember that this is an h. A negative 35 plus a negative 1. So this takes us back to our adding and subtracting integers. So that gives you negative 36, whoops, divide by 4. So h equals, what, negative 9? Yeah. Okay. Okay, now you will have a few word problems. So you'll have to come up with the equation and then solve it. Even if you can do it, remember, sometimes it's easier to solve and then write the equation. Okay, I'm fine with that. So Matt wants to save $900 to go to Colorado. So we know it's going to equal whatever he's wanting. The trip is going to equal $900. He saves $45 each week and now has $180. How many more weeks does he need to save up? So you think about it. He has $180 right now, and we're going to add to that $45 per week or each week. Okay, so you can use whatever variable you want. We're looking for how many weeks. That's what we're looking for, and add it up. It's all going to equal 900. So then we solve it, and yes, you need to come up with an equation. So 45x equals, what is that? 0, 10 to 720. Is that right? So 45x equals 720. I'm going to rewrite it over here. Okay? So then we're going to divide by the 45. Again, you can use a calculator, it's fine. You should end up with 16 weeks if my notes are right. Okay, so he needs to save up for 16 more weeks. Again, you might be able to figure this out just by writing stuff out, but you need to be able to come up with that equation because you're going to get tested on it. Okay? And I think I have one little joke.